Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Before we begin, the Grandel Wrestling Podcast would like to salute our partners who make all this possible. First, the St. Louis Kings of the Calzone, sauce on the side in the Grove. You can't go wrong with the Pancho Villa or one of their dessert calzones. There is an art to this dish, and there is one master artist of the calzone, sauce on the side. Dine in, carry out, or delivery. We'd also like to welcome the newest member of our family, the Southwest Diner. Serving up diner staples and foods of the American Southwest, Southwest Diner has been a favorite of locals and visitors alike since 2012. If you're into the classics, you can't go wrong with the biscuits and homemade sausage gravy. You like spice? Dig into Jonathan's famous fiery scramble. They also do an excellent smash burger. You gotta check it out. The crispy edges are amazing. Now offering delivery, curbside pickup, and a brand spanking new patio. There are plenty of safe and enjoyable ways to get your Southwest Diner fix. And now, on with the show. Hey there, wrestling fans, and welcome back to episode 20 of the Grandel Wrestling Podcast. It's been quite the run so far, and today we have a true Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer, former World Heavyweight Champion, Big Poppa Pump, Scott Steiner. Scott, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing? You forgot to say greatest tag team of all time.
I think that's worth saying. The Steiner Brothers, most definitely.
Tag team of all time.
Better than the Road Warriors as well, right?
Well, I used to always say that. Yeah.
I think if you polled the wrestling crowd, it's either the LOD or the Steiners. The majority of the wrestling fans would say.
Yeah, no, they're good friends of mine.
Yeah.
You know?
We were chatting before the show a little bit about the early part of your career, and I'd like to talk about some flashpoints in your career leading up to modern day Scott Steiner and what made the man, the philosophy, because you're a big philosophical man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Expert, PhD in math.
You're
well-rounded. Come from University of Michigan, so of course.
well-educated.
Well-educated.
Your brother Rick started in wrestling a few years before you, and after you graduated from the University of Michigan, you went to Indianapolis under Dick the Bruiser and wrestled there, and then you went to Memphis. All the while, your brother was making strides in his career. Did you compare yourself to Rick coming up early on?
No, we always had in mind the tag team, you know. So, but he was 2 years older than I was, and he was 2 years ahead of me at Michigan. And then when I was at Michigan, I think it was my senior year, or it could have been my junior year. I watched him wrestle the Road Warriors, you know, on TV when he was with the AWA, and then he started with Vern. He went through Brad Riding's camp. So, yeah, and then, like you said, I started with Dick the Bruiser, and then went down to Memphis, and then I went to join my brother in NWA.
Was he the catalyst to getting you into Jim Crockett?
The catalyst? I mean, you're saying because he was there, I got there?
Right.
Yeah, pretty much, you know, and it helped him being there, yeah. Definitely.
So when you were there, was there ever any, I think Bill Watts was running WCW at that point, right?
No. My brother went, when I was just graduating, I went down there that's where he was wrestling for Bill Watts. That's when I first met Sting, first met the Ultimate Warrior, because they were the Blade Runners down there. And then, when they got bought out by Crockett, then he went to the NWA. So, and then after I went to Memphis for about almost 10 months, then I joined him in the NWA. So,
how well did you and your brother gel as a tag team to start? Was it like a rocket? You going after the tag titles very quickly, or was there some work to be done? And did you ever think about becoming a single star right off the bat?
No, when I first started, I never thought about it. I never wanted to be. You know, I always wanted to prove that we were the best tag team there was, best brother tag team there was. And I think we did that because we incorporated a lot of amateur wrestling that we did, because when I was at Michigan, well, my freshman year, the guy who was a grad assistant was training for the '84 Olympics, and he was Greco-Roman, and so I had to train with him. So he taught me a lot of the throws. He ended up being the first gold medalist for the United States in Greco-Roman, which is an amazing feat in itself. Being the first American in
Who
the
was
history.
that?
Steve Frazier, and so yeah, I used to train with him all the time. So. Well, my brother did too, So we incorporated our amateur wrestling into professional. A lot of my suplexes, we had really done before, So the step around and stuff like that. So
There was a lot of stuff that we hadn't seen before, like the Doomsday device. Bulldog off the top rope, from Rick. That was really cool. And when I was very young, one of the neatest things, I thought it was just the coolest, was the Frankensteiner, okay, the OG.
Yeah.
How'd you come up with this variation of the head scissors?
I actually thought about it, doing it in Memphis, but I didn't want to do it because I knew if I did it on Memphis TV, then somebody else would see it on national TV and then do it, and I couldn't claim it was something that I invented, So I waited till I got to the NWA, and that's when I did it, and people loved it. So that's why they asked me what I wanted to call it, and so I said Frankensteiner. Then of course we did the Steiner screwdriver. I did that.
That is an extraordinarily dangerous looking move. You had to
Yeah.
have taken someone's head off at some point with that.
No, I had them in control. So it was, you don't want to hurt anybody, So, no, I protected people. I had them really good. So
That's
otherwise
impressive.
you could break somebody's neck,
Yeah.
So I did that. A couple other things, DDT off the top rope on my brother's shoulders. So a lot of various suplexes,
Why did you and your brother leave WCW after that first run? Was it an offer from Vince McMahon on the table already?
No. Actually, that was probably our worst mistake ever, was going up to WWF at the time. Well, we left because Bill Watts came in. He started, he made money if he cut people's contract. And I didn't think he was going to bother us because my brother wrestled for him. But, being a greedy bastard that he was, he didn't give a damn how much money, he took money out of our pockets. So there was a little conflict, and so we just said,
But
we're out of here.
Why was going to the WWF a mistake? Because you
Well,
were
because-
slated to be a big star there, right?
Yeah, but it was when Vince was going through that steroid trial.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So he was paying most of the lawyers all the money, and the fact that he had the WBF guys, the bodybuilders, they were on contracts, guaranteed contracts, and they only did one show, 2 shows, and then they got rid of them, And they were making guaranteed money, and he wouldn't do that for the wrestlers, So that was another thing that pissed us off, everybody. I'm talking from world champion, like Bret Hart, Diesel. It was bad. The payoffs were bad. It was just horrible. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that was the main reason why we left.
Was there any truth to the fact that several folks in the company, I think Pat Patterson was one of them, wanted to make you a single star and come in and win the 1993 Royal Rumble? Is that a fact?
I mean, that's what I heard. I didn't hear it at the time, but that's what I've heard. With Bruce Pritchard's podcast and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know if of course, I probably would have did it, but I didn't really want to do, because my brother and I had to wrestle every tag team there was in WCW. So we wanted to go up to WWF and wrestle every tag team there. So that would kind of, it's interesting to think back and see what would have happened if it happened. But no, at that time, I was just concentrating to, be the best tag team brother combination there ever was.
I think there's something special about that because there's not too many people, maybe, I would guess, that would say, I'm going to give up a chance to go on a WWF world title run to keep teaming with my brother because I think we're the best in the world.
Right. Well, yeah, it was it was a brother thing for one, and then I wanted to go down in history as the best tag team, or if not, the very least, the toughest. You know what I mean? So.
It seems like you guys were in WWF for a lot longer than you actually were, but it was only
Yeah.
like a year and a half. And how was your departure from the World Wrestling Federation?
I could tell you this Pat Patterson story, but it's really I'm gonna let that go because we're got women and children. But that's what was the downfall right there, And
Pat didn't like you?
no, let's go on a different.
You can plead the fifth. Plead the fifth.
I mean,
Okay.
That's for a different time. But so then that pissed us off, and then so then we tried to get fired, because we hated it so bad. So we went over to the UK, France, and we just had a food fight in in the cafeteria before our matches and stuff at both places, and they still wouldn't fire us. So then we went in and asked for our release.
When all else fails.
Yeah, well, but he gave us a full release to go anywhere. But we ended up going to Japan. But he broke his promise to us. The same thing he tells everybody. Well, I'm going to give you a chance, the opportunity to make the most money possible. That was bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So after 8-10 months of that, he got old real quick. Especially when you knew that he was paying the bodybuilder guys, guaranteed contract. That was that was bullshit, man.
You also worked in ECW after that tenure.
I wouldn't say I did 2 or 3 matches, only because we liked Paul Heyman, so we did it as a favor to him in between going back and forth to Japan, but it wasn't on a regular. Like I said, 2 or 3 matches, so but it was nobody was making money there, so we that's all we did,
You come back to WCW right before they strike the gold mine, that is rating supremacy, the New World Order in the year 1996. And you and your brother are feuding with the likes of Harlem Heat and others. And I remember this as a very special time in my childhood and made you guys one of my favorite tag teams. What brought you back to World Championship Wrestling, and did you think this time it was for good?
Well, we had spent 2 years in Japan, so that was, they paid us good money, and we kind of ran that course where we got tired of going over to Japan, because it's a long flight. So then we also did the show in Pyongyang, North Korea.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, the collision in Korea.
Yeah, that was a New Japan show.
Yeah,
set up by Inoki.
That had to be the strangest show you've ever worked, right?
Well, that was communist country, so as soon as we land, they take our passport. Mm-hmm. So we all knew, but can't fuck up. So excuse my language. But it was cool because Muhammad Ali was there. Because he had wrestled Inoki, in the boxing versus wrestling thing in I think the 70s or something like that, early 80s. So that was that. Yeah, it was amazing. Just to see, it was 170,000 people, then 180,000, so it was average.
And they were all forced to be there. They had never seen wrestling before.
Yeah, I think it was like a festival.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much they were forced, but they were there. You know what I mean? But it was weird. We went to a hotel, like it was black and white TVs. There were 3 channels, 2 were propaganda, and 1 was wrestling. So yeah, the food was brutal. I actually had brought my own tuna fish because I had a feeling it was going to be pretty bad, and it was worse than bad. So all the buildings were the same color as cement. It was different. Then we went out, took a bus ride out to see the emperor from when before they had just died, and we're going through the countryside. People are plowing fields with ox, no tractors. It was poverty.
Yeah.
Then we pull up, and it was a big, it must have been like 4 stories of stairs. And at that time, Muhammad Ali was onset of Parkinson's, but he wasn't that as bad as he was. Man, as soon as he saw those stairs, he stopped shaking. He was going up the stairs, running them like his old training days. It was, he was Muhammad Ali was a great American.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, it was sad even when he passed several years ago. That's an amazing story though with the stairs. I'm glad that they brought that also to the Dark Side of the Ring special.
Yeah.
On that event. When you were in North Korea, did that give you a chance to chat with Eric Bischoff about coming back to WCW?
Yeah, I had seen him there. Didn't talk a whole lot because everybody else was doing different things. Otherwise, all you do is stay in the hotel, and they had everybody assigned to a person. Right. So a person was assigned to each. Just like I think that they covered that on Dark Side of the Ring, where Norton was on his phone with his wife.
Yeah.
Said this place sucks, and all of a sudden the phone went dead, and they took him downstairs.
And you, Scott Steiner, stayed out of trouble in North Korea.
Yeah. Oh man, that was you can't do nothing. What could you do? You know what I mean? So, I mean, nobody's really secure until we got our passport and we're on the plane going back.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they could have did anything to us.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? If they wanted to.
They really. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it was different.
Was that your most unique, I guess we could say, memory from working with New Japan?
Yeah, I mean, when we first went to the very first match, we wrestled Sasaki and Hase, and that was like in front of 72,000 people, so in the Tokyo Dome. So it was an experience. It was, it was a great experience. We had a good time in Japan. Their style matched up with ours, so just beat the crap out of them.
You mentioned that you always preferred, at least up to this point, to be in a tag team with your brother.
Yeah.
You're back in WCW in the mid to late 90s. The New World Order is now going strong. You guys have been the good guys for maybe all of your career at this point.
Yeah, all of our career.
And now it's Super Brawl 98, I believe, and you turn on your brother. Broke my heart. Broke my 10-year-old heart, Scott. I can't believe it. Joined the NWO. Whose idea was this? Were you for it?
Well, at that time, we were for it because we had wrestled everybody. Yeah. There was really no more tag teams for us to beat, or to wrestle. So, and then Eric came up to me and asked me what my thoughts were. And at that time, I was ready to, especially turning heel. I definitely was all for that. It was, let's just say, it's easy to make people hate me. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that was my job, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So it was a good change,
The next night on Nitro, you come out and you debut a very new part of Scott Steiner most of us have not seen before, maybe nobody. And it took a while to come up with Big Poppa Pump, but you went through several nicknames. Tell me about that. How did you come up with Big Poppa Pump eventually?
None of those nicknames made it on air, only because some of these bonehead announcers were coming up with these stuff. It's like, why'd you say that? I didn't tell you to call me that. You know what I mean? So finally came up with a name myself, Big Poppa Pump, and it was like, then I ran with that. Right. So it was just, just doing this thinking, trying to make things interesting. Just like when I came out the very next night after turning on my brother with the blonde hair, and that was all my idea. And it's because I knew I had to change because we had been popular as a tag team. And I didn't want to come back the next night as try to be a bad guy looking the same as before. So I had to totally change my, the way I looked and the way I thought. Mm-hmm. And, my presentation all changed,
Oftentimes when you see tag team wrestlers who were exclusively a tag team and the team ends, oftentimes one of the wrestlers goes on to greater stardom than the other one. Think like Sean and Marty. Were you or your brother concerned that this might happen when this breakup occurred?
Yeah, I mean that's why I changed so much, because I didn't want people to look at me the same way as they did before when we were a tag team. So yeah, of course, because you never know what the politics of wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was definitely a concern, but luckily, I talked to Eric, and luckily he let me do the stuff that I thought would get over, make me, a heel that I wanted to be.
Was one of those actions no longer doing the Frankensteiner because it was such a cool move?
That's exactly. People are saying, well, like, hey, you don't do the Frankensteiner no more. Well, I didn't want to do the Frankensteiner because I don't want the people to cheer for me. Yeah. So I eliminated that just for that. Right. I did not want the people. I didn't want to give any people the chance to cheer me.
Yeah.
Because that was my job. And that was the one thing when I was a tag team. If a heel wouldn't go out there and do his job, and enjoyed the cheers, I mean, that used to piss me off, because in my mind, you should be fired if you can't get the people to hate you, and you can't make them like boo you, or you want to get cheered. That's it. You got to get put on the shelf. In my opinion. So that's why. And I used to always hate that when heels tried to be cheered.
Like a cool heel. What's a cool heel?
It don't matter. It's not. I never tried for the cheers. So that's why. That's like you said. That's why I stopped doing it. The Frankensteiner.
And while we're talking about the move, one last bit. What's the difference between a Hurricane Rana and a Frankensteiner?
Well, oh boy.
Uh-oh.
That dumbass Mike Tenay. He came from Mexico. He said he was a professor, and they said, "Oh, they were doing it down in Mexico." Like, I don't give a shit. And I'm not apologizing for my language, because that pisses me off. He started calling the Hurricane Rana, and I was like, so. But Rey Mysterio, he does that a lot.
Right.
He knows I started doing that before anybody else did. I mean, the people in Japan knew I did it before anybody else, because that's one of the reasons why they want me to do it over there. So, I mean, I know it. I can't control what Mike Tenay tries to say.
He's a professor, What do you get?
He ain't no freaking professor.
Well, just like Jake Roberts says the DDT, you're the one who finishes the matches with the Frankensteiner. To me, that's the difference.
Right.
So,
the Frankensteiner was when I threw him off the ropes and caught him coming off.
Right.
Not too many people do that.
Right.
Actually, my nephew's starting to do that.
Bron,
he did that pretty good the other night.
Yeah, I did notice that. They're always coming off the ropes toward you running.
Yeah.
And then you're standing and you leap and do the head scissors with the moonsault.
That was the origination of the Frankensteiner.
The Frankensteiner.
Yeah, so.
Unmistakable.
But then I start doing it off the top rope.
Yeah.
It's just a variation, so.
So come Mayhem 2000, you reach the wrestling mountaintop. Mayhem 2000, WCW winning the big gold belt. I think it was a little bit bigger than that one back there. The World Heavyweight Championship.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. The original. That's it right there.
It's close. a little smaller.
Yeah. And you won that at Mayhem 2000, making Booker T pass out in the Steiner recliner in a steel cage.
He couldn't handle the largest arms in the world. It's like,
Stevie Ray was on commentary saying, "No, don't stop the match. Don't stop the match." Heartbreaking. Big Poppa Pump's the world champ.
Yeah, Stevie's lucky I didn't put it on him too.
Right. What did that mean to you? I mean, it had to be a big thrill.
Well, yeah. Anytime you win a world championship, whether it's tag team or world, title, is a big deal. But there's also a pressure deal too. Because then you got to perform. Then you got to make sure your pay-per-view buy rates, people are looking at you to draw them.
And that was a tough time for WCW. A lot of pressure.
Yeah. So no, it's great winning a world title, but there also comes responsibility with you know, fulfilling your, you know, you got to draw people, you know, keep people engaged in the product and, you know, turn on the TV set and, you know, draw the ratings too, you know. So
it's worth noting you were the last world champion under Turner-owned WCW.
Yep.
And Booker T got you with the bookend on the last Nitro. Coming out of that show, what did you think your future in wrestling was, if anything?
well, if you didn't think that the boys were screwed, you don't know wrestling, you know, because there's no advantage to having a monopoly where there's only one company. And it's just, so, and of course, when WCW was bought out, they lost all their ratings too, because WWF did not get WCW's attendance or viewer audience. Because they, you know, there's definitely a distinct audience, different fan base. So
there is data that suggests that a lot of that fan base did go away.
oh yeah, they did. Yeah. It was, you know, for whatever reason. So that was probably the downfall or a dip in professional wrestling at the time, you know.
A second part of your career, I think, in some people's minds, might be coming to WWE in 2002, the feud with Triple H, and I think
Which I did not want.
you didn't want it. Why
No.
not?
Well,
He's
I wanted-
the top guy, right?
I'm about to punch you, man.
What?
No, I wanted to be on the other show. You know what I mean? I did not want to deal with that bullshit. Him and his wife.
You wanted to be on SmackDown? Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying? Okay.
Yeah. So, but you know, like everybody from WCW went up there and pretty much did the same thing. Like I went up there, won the first match by DQ, then I lost the second match. Same thing with Nash. He won the first match by DQ, then won the second match he lost.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I mean, look at what he did to Sting, you know. First match, he beats him. You know what I mean? Goldberg, same thing.
It didn't
Booker
feel
T,
right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? See, we beat him for 83 weeks straight. They took that personal. But we're still all in the wrestling business. So when we went up there, we had a black mark on we had a target on our back. Yeah. Like, you know, why they couldn't see, you know, that's the point is they took it personal. We're all in the wrestling business. We beat them guys. And they, you know, that was, I mean, if you listen to the commentary on the WrestleMania when, you know, Sting wrestled Triple H, I mean, they even said, like, you know, this is the final nail on the coffin for WCW. He's the last one, you know. So, I mean, that's, well, you know, you get paid what you paid for, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were going to bury people, and I mean, that could have been a great thing. You know, WCW versus WWE. But that's why, you know, it's a great thing that AEW is out now.
Absolutely.
You know, because there's competition. People can go, and you look at, a lot of them are jumping ship. Yeah. And then, unbelievably, some people are getting fired. That is crazy to me.
Yeah. Luckily, now the wrestlers do have more leverage, and that's everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Other places go, like, yeah.
Impact Wrestling, then known as TNA, your run there, everyone seemed to love it. The Main Event Mafia, the Sacrifice 2008 promo, the greatest of all time, perhaps. You found your voice, or was this just you having fun? Tell me about your time in Impact. It's specifically how the numbers, they didn't add up because you lost that match.
No, the numbers do add up. Harvard professors took it to task, and he said, yeah, the numbers are correct.
Damn.
So, now, see, when I went up, I don't know how many people know this, but when I went up to the WWE at the time, my foot was totally paralyzed. Mm-hmm. And then I had a couple other injuries. So my mobility was pretty bad. So as soon as I left there, I had 3 major surgeries. You know, one was my foot. Unfortunately, it's, you know, it was called a tendon transfer, and but it's still paralyzed, you know. So, but I could wrestle a lot better. So that was one of the reasons why I went to TNA, is because I wanted to show that because he tried to bury me, like Triple H blamed me totally for all the matches and stuff, you know. So I wanted to go there and prove that I could still wrestle. So,
And
of course I could. I knew numbers, and I could do an
interview. We love it. People
love that. That's amazing.
It's going everywhere.
Like Wendy's did a spinoff on it for one of their advertising things. It was like, oh, people love it, which is,
Yeah.
I was just trying to, as much as I would try to entertain the people, I would try to entertain myself, So
I'll give you this: you would have won that match. The numbers would have added up if Angle was in the match and didn't get pulled.
But he was scared, and he knew he couldn't win.
He had no chance. He wasn't even going to try.
That's right.
So, skipping around, we could talk about this forever. I love it. But, I turn on the TV every Tuesday and I see Bron Breakker, your nephew, and everyone says, every time he opens his mouth, he sounds just like his Uncle Scott. He wrestles like a combination of you and your brother. He even wears a singlet as a throwback to your brother. Tell me about Bron and what we can expect from him. He's going to be the future of NXT.
Yeah. No, Bronson, he's a character. He used to, he loved wrestling, and he used to watch us all the time. And then he used to watch me when I did my promos. And then he would come over to my house and then do my promos on myself. So, no, he definitely has it, So he could be. It all depends on the politics of wrestling, but he could be a main guy in the near future,
Yeah, and thankfully it looks like he has everything working in his favor right now. So we will wait and see.
Yeah, no, he's. Like I said, he's only been wrestling since January.
Right.
So he's obviously picked it up pretty quick. But he wrestled in high school too, so he was a state champion in high school. So, and he just played football in college,
Do you think an amateur career is beneficial for wrestlers coming up today?
It's not necessary, but if you watch like the UFC and stuff, like most of the champions or all the champions right now, they have a wrestling background because, it's probably one of the toughest sport there is amateur wrestling, because it's just, you got to be an animal to do it. You got to be a little crazy, but it helps with the movement. With what you do in the ring, but it's not necessary. But it helps.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that tried amateur wrestling, that tried professional wrestling, and they couldn't transfer over.
Right.
Transfer. So. The same thing as football too, like LT, Lawrence Taylor, he tried it. I mean, he had the possibility to be one of the biggest stars there could have been in WWF when he wrestled Bam Bam Bigelow, but he couldn't.
Main event of a WrestleMania.
Yeah, and he couldn't, for whatever reason. It didn't. The movement, everything's different.
Yeah.
So that same thing with the Steve McMichael. He could have been, because he was a great athlete. He was a great, won Super Bowl with the Chicago. I was a big fan of his too, and he was a great guy when he came to WCW. Unfortunately, he's sick right now, so he's got Lou Gehrig disease or something, I think, ALS, something like that.
Yeah.
So I feel bad for him, but the guy who really caught on the most was Goldberg. So he played football.
Yeah.
So,
you get along with Goldberg, okay?
Yeah, I always got along with Bill.
Good.
So.
Well, I know we're running a little bit low on time, and I told you I needed to ask you about your wrestling horror story. And I know you probably have a lot, from the ring, from the locker room, from the road, the baddest or the maddest or the saddest. Do you have a wrestling horror story today for us, Scott?
Horror story?
Yes.
I don't know, a bunch of horrors. Is that what we talk about?
Oh, well, hey.
Horrors. You said horrors?
No, the horror. The horror. Yes, like it's scary, yes.
Oh, well, some of those horrors are scary, too.
We're a 21 and up podcast. I feel that.
Horrors, okay. Well,
From every city, I'm sure you have a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think probably one of the, down the road, when we first got to WCW, we were on a road. Our contract said 350 days. So we were wrestling every day of the week, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday. So, you either lose your mind or you make up for it to have, make your own fun. Right. So, I mean, there's a couple of stories. Like one time we were on the road, we were traveling with the Nasty Boys, and we were tired, so we went to bed. They wanted to use their car to go out that night, So we let them use it to come back. Then we get it next morning. We jump, and they put peanut butter on the steering wheel, and then they put powder in the air conditioner. So we turned it on. Of course, sprays up in our face, and then our hands are all sticky. So then, when we got to the arena that night, we taped them both up, and Jerry Saggs, my brother, always had a knife with him, cut his clothes off, and we threw him out where the fans, it was like almost right before the show. And so he's out there all taped up naked, and we just threw him out there. So.
Well, more than the fans bargained for that.
Yeah, it wasn't a pretty sight. But then another one is like we used to go on the road. Like, I mean, I don't advise like doing this now. We'd go past somebody. Of course, you know pretty much everybody because we usually always got Cadillacs or Continentals. We'd go up there and we'd open the door going like 80 miles an hour. Most of them they'd freak out, but then they'd pull over like, what the hell happened? What was that? Because they wouldn't know it was us until that. The one time we were doing it, we had.
Oh, you'd open their doors? Yeah. Oh, well, hell. Yeah, don't try that at home.
But then we had a war with the Samoans, Fatu and Samu.
And the head shrinkers.
Yeah, with Paul Lee going down the road and just doing crazy stuff like that. Finally, like throwing eggs and stuff. Finally ran out of eggs, so then it was in North Carolina, so the guy was actually selling firewood. Mm-hmm. So of course we got firewood, throw it at the car. It's like we destroyed that car. And like I heard Paul Lee the other day saying that he still can't rent from the rent-a-car place in North Carolina, Charlotte, to this day. He got banned for like 35 years.
Scott, if you had to do it all over again, would you do anything differently?
I don't know, man. When I went to college, I had so much fun, and I didn't think I could top that. But then when I got in professional wrestling, I topped that. We had so much fun. I mean, I wouldn't trade that for anything. Like wrestling, when I wrestled professionally, it was a great time. Of course, traveling, flights. I mean, but you gotta, make your own fun, and that's what we tried to do, and we did. Like I said, I had the greatest time. So.
Are you on social media?
I have Twitter. I wouldn't say I'm real consistent.
Yeah. Well, me neither.
Yeah,
it's pretty poisonous,
It can be, but if you care what other people say, and I don't. So, but then again, I don't like, posting stuff every day. Is like, I mean, more of a private guy. So
it's not something you'd want to advertise in front of all of our listeners and viewers.
Well, I mean, it's pretty easy.
They could find you.
Yeah, it's easy to find me.
All right. Hey, you can find me on Twitter too, that poisonous, horrible place at the Ben Simon. And the show is on Twitter as well at Grandel Wrestle. We're on Instagram at Grandel Wrestling. And today's show has been presented, as always, from Midcoast Media here in Midtown St. Louis. Chris Denman, the owner, invites you to contact him. Do your show here at the facility. It's a great place. Today's show was engineered by Logan Perez and produced, as always, by Joey O'Farrell. My name is Ben Simon. Scott, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's
a pleasure. Man. I appreciate it.
Of course. And until next time, here we are saying so long.
Yeah, we need some more horror stories. Horror story.
Horse stories.
Horror stories. I got a few horror stories.
Oh.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Well, so long. Go away from the show me state. We'll see you next time.